Hey guys, welcome back here to Advanced Bass Fishing, and really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel and checking out the video today. And guys, today we are in April at the time of filming this video, and I want to show you exactly the progression that the fish make as far as, you know, into that spawning routine in April. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you sort of like what happens as far as right when the fish get ready to start spawning, you know, where they're looking for areas. I'm on the lake right now, and I'm going to show you the sort of the movement that they have, their migration routes, where they start out like right before it starts spawning, or right before, you know, everything gets ready for them to spawn, and then the areas they look for, and sort of like a combination of, like, there's three different phases during the spawn. You've got the late pre-spawn, which is like when those fish are really close to spawning, and then you've got the full-blown spawn when most of the fish are actually bedding. And then you have the early post-spawn where there's some fish still bedding, but some fish are done and they're moving out. So I'm on the lake, and I got a really good example I'm going to show you guys in today's video here. Also, guys, before we get started, I just wanted to show you we do have a new frame color on my Blaukat, my signature series RB2 and RB3 series sunglasses from Solarbat. We got the nice matte black frames on it. We've got the, you know, the matte gray and the sort of like the tan colored, but now we got the black. If you guys would like to get a pair of these black frames, I'll have my Solarbat link in the description of the video. And if you just want to get one pair, guys, get the high contrast yellow lens here. This is like, I wear it about 80% of the time. It sort of lights things up a little bit. So really appreciate that, guys. Anyway, all those links will be in the description. Okay, guys, I'm going to turn the camera around. I'm sort of going to explain to you guys, I'm going to take you through the cove here and sort of go through where these fish are at certain times of the spawn. So okay, here, guys, we're going to start out in the back of this cove. Now, this is the cove back end here. Now, this is the typical spawning type of an area for a bass. It's like when you get water temperatures like in the mid 60s, and especially like right now, guys, at the time of filming this video, we're just coming off the full moon a couple days ago. First full moon in April, like we've had right now, water temperatures in the 60s. The back ends of these coves here are going to have a lot of bass spawning, actually bedding and spawning. Now, the thing about this is these fish that are in the back ends of these coves, guys, they're very finicky, and they're very spooky, because this is the first place people come to. They all run to the back of the coves, fish in here, idle out, somebody else comes back in here. So this is the part of the cove I do not like to fish. I stay out of the back ends if all possible, simply because these fish back here, they're spooky and they're hard to catch. But this is where a lot of them will first go when they really start bedding, because, you know, it's, you know, the banks are flatter, hard bottom, and if there wasn't any fishing pressure on a lake, this is where all the fish would spawn. But since fish have adapted to fishing pressure, so they tend to spawn throughout the cove. Now, here's an example, guys. We got a nice cove. There's the main creek out there. We got a nice little cove moving back in here, and here's the back end of it. So this is where a lot of them are going to spawn. Now, the mid part of the cove, I'm going to take you through the mid part here. When you're talking about the mid part of the cove, there's a lot of fish that are moving up and down this bank here. They're transitioning. Some of the fish are swimming out from the main lake in here. Some of them are coming in here, and they're cruising, and they're looking for suitable spawning habitat. They may or may not find it. Some bass may cruise in here, and they already find that other bass have taken the best areas. So they'll come in here, check it out, and if the best spawning areas are taken, they'll go back out and look for another area. So that's why there's always a lot of fish moving throughout the mid part of the cove here. Now, there are bass that will spawn in the mid part of the cove, and usually, guys, if you can find bass that are spawning in the mid part of the cove area, they're usually always bigger fish, and they usually bed a little bit deeper. But one of the things that I like to do, well, let's start out to the back. Well, the first thing I do, guys, in the back is I'll throw a wacky rig. You know, I'll just fan cast a wacky rig around. Now, the mid part of the cove here, there's the point. The mid part, in this time of year in April, this is where I'm going to fish a shaky head. So I'm going to fish slow down. I'm going to fish a shaky head all through here in about 3 to 15 foot of water, depending upon the water visibility. May throw some type of like a split shot rig, or maybe even a Ned rig, but I'm going to fish something on the bottom. Now, if it's really windy, like if the wind's really howling in here, I may throw a swim bait or like a fluke or something like that. But this is the part of the cove that I really like to fish, is the mid part, simply because it does not get the pressure. Now we're coming up on the point here. This is what's called the secondary point. Hope that wind's not too bad. But this is the secondary point that is leading into this cove out of the main creek arm. Now, this secondary point, guys, is a huge key area on any spawning cove, because you're going to have some fish that hang out on that point there in all phases of the spawn. If you have smallmouth, the smallmouth will spawn on that point. Some of the fish that are coming out off the main creek here, they're going to be coming in, they're going to set up on this secondary point, getting ready to spawn. And they'll stay there for weeks. And on the points here, I'll fish a jerkbait, I'll fish a football head jig, a wobble head jig, maybe a shaky head, something like that. But this is going to hold fish throughout the spawn. You're going to have fish in the pre-spawn phase, spawning on it, and then what happens is when those fish in the back there are done spawning, they're going to swim out here and they're going to set up on this secondary point when they're done spawning. And that's when I like to fish like a topwater, some type of a walking topwater is good. Shaky head again's good. Back to your football head jig, maybe a crankbait, deep diving crankbait. But this is the progression of the fish when you're in here. Anytime the water temperature, guys, is between 55 and 70 degrees, the fish are in that mode to spawn. They're getting ready to. And this is the progression you have. They start out on the point, they migrate back in there, halfway in there, they go to the back, they look for suitable spawning habitat, and it's like a highway in here. There's bass coming and going all the time in here. Some of them are going to be better than others. Okay, guys, like I just said, most man-made impoundments have a lot of coves like this in it. If you've got a typical man-made impoundment, some lakes more than others. Like here in the Ozarks, we have a ton of coves. But the thing about it is, like, this is where these fish want to spawn at. Bass are very adaptable. They'll spawn on about anything. I've seen them spawn, guys. Like, I've been at Rodman Pool in Florida, and I've seen them spawn on standing timber in 15 foot of water before. I've seen them spawn on mud banks. They'll spawn wherever they can, but this is the type of areas they prefer to have if they can get into it. So anyway, guys, just concentrate on these type of areas. The whole key is that certain parts of the lake a lot of times are better than others, depending upon the water clarity. You may have one part of the lake that has a lot of fish bedding and getting ready to bed. You may run 20 miles up the lake and they're in a completely different stage based upon the angle of the bank and the water clarity. And that's another thing, guys. The water clarity will dictate your technique during this time of year. If you've got a lake that has dirty water, like water visibility under about 15 inches, you're going to be throwing like chatterbaits and spinnerbaits and Texas rig worms and creature baits during the whole period here. But if you're in a clear water lake like we're on Table Rock today, it opens up a lot of different things to work. I mean, you got your finesse tactics, you got power tactics if the wind's blowing. But nevertheless, this is the type of areas you want to look for this time of year. So anyway, guys, hope it helps out. We'll talk later.